Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to take a look at the Sega Genesis Classic Mini versus the AtGames Sega Genesis Mini. Which one should you buy? Which one's best for you? Let's do it. And don't forget to smash that subscribe button so that you don't miss any videos. To see which one's best, we're going to take a look at a couple things. First of all, the interface. Second of all, what games does it come with? And lastly, what about the controllers? And is there anything other special that kind of sets them apart? Let's take a look. One of the things that I really liked about the Sega official version is what we're going to look at first. This mini console actually has a really nice interface. One of the things I like about this is that you can actually sort these games based on release date or genre, number of players, things like that made it a lot easier to find the games. The other thing that I liked is you can actually navigate using a basic D-pad. If you look at the navigation, which we'll take a look at on the AtGames version, it's just atrocious. Okay, so the lineup of games that comes with the Sega Genesis is pretty solid. One of the big things that you're going to notice is that there's a lot of third party. Look at this: Hardcore Contra, Castlevania Bloodlines. There's a lot of third party. Earthworm Jim, of course, another great game. And then you have Darius and Tetris, which were never released except for in the European side of the house. But we're actually getting the ability to play these games, and I think that was really smart of Sega to kind of set them apart, from the other guys. So if we go up to settings, actually here, let me show you the release date. So you can do release date, you can do genre, A to Z, of course, number of players if you want to, sort it by that. So I really like that. That was pretty nice. Under settings, they have their basic standard settings here, but the important part is we're going to look at screen settings and wallpaper settings. So under screen settings, you can do standard 4:3, or you can do standard 16:9. Well, it's not quite standard, but you get what I'm saying. I like to play it in 4:3. You can choose whatever you want here, but the fact they give you the option is pretty nice. Something that's also pretty subtle, I'm going to go ahead and let it play, is that there's actual music, okay? When you watch the AtGames one, I'm going to show you, there's no music. It's kind of dead, it's kind of dry, so check it out. The other thing I forgot to mention, if you saw it, you can set a CRT filter, which is basically adding scan lines, and they look pretty good. The wallpaper, you can set black, which is also really nice, unlike the Switch, which has that kind of weird background. It's not completely black, it's a little distracting, but other than that, it's got music, it's really easy to sort and get through the games. Fairly nice interface. I like it. Next up, we're going to look at AtGames. Let's see how their interface fares. So, first of all, one of the things you're going to notice, they have a pretty good list of Sega Genesis games here. They also do Sega Master System, and you're also going to see some of the Game Gear games, the ones that are highlighted in pink, like Baku Baku over there on page 1. So the interface is kind of interesting. If you look at the bottom left, as I'm paging and moving around, it's atrocious. I mean, who would have thought to page up and page down you got to use the buttons? I honestly have to stare at that diagram every time I'm moving around because I just don't know how to move from game to game or from screen to screen. So the interface is a little quonky, quirky, whatever word you want to pick. So it's a little hard to get used to, but it's not, it's not impossible. That's the word I'm looking for. It's not impossible. You can do it. It's just awkward. So anyway, they have a decent lineup of Sega Genesis games. They also put in, like I said, Sega Master System games and Game Gear games, which kind of gives them a little bit of a nod in the game department. One of the things you'll see too is they have such as the Mortal Kombat series. You see some of the Shining Force series. They have Shining in the Darkness, Shining Force, both 1 and 2. Like I said, the Game Gear games. You can even play the Adventures of Tales on the Game Gear down here. So they kind of went out of their way to make sure that you had just more than one, emulator. You have 3 emulators technically in one. They also group the games. On the left, you can notice that there's a Mortal Kombat grouping. There's also Sonic games grouping. The bonus games is actually a waste of time. I don't even know why they put that in there. It's just, those games are horrible. It's a waste of space. It's a waste of time to even play them. So whatever. But you know, you can also make a game your favorite. Like say, let's go to Mortal Kombat. You know, you can play Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. Of course, like I said, the Sonic games in here. But let's say you wanted to play Mortal Kombat as one of your favorite games and you just want to get to it very quickly. So you put in a pretty nice feature. What you do is you select the game, and once the game is up there, it'll give you an option to press the C button to add it to My Favorites. You'll see the little gold star light up on the top right hand corner, and then the favorites will highlight, letting you know that you have favorites in there, and there you go. So that was kind of nice. I thought that was, you know, a pretty cool feature. So I don't know, interface wise it's hard to navigate, but they do have favorites and they do have recent and they do categorize the games, so not bad. Alright, let's get what matters the most to us, that is the games. So I made a list here of all the titles that are shared between both of them, listed them all out, then I highlighted, you know, AtGames and Sega Genesis Mini, you know, so for the uniqueness, just to the Sega ones there's 27, uniqueness just to AtGames there's 42, and then of course shared between of them there's 15 games. So for instance, Alien Storm is going to be on the AtGames Mini, but not on the Sega Mini, okay? If you go down to like Altered Beast, they both have that game, okay? So, you know, Arrow Flash, Beyond Oasis, but look at this, Castle of Illusion, you know, starring Mickey Mouse. That one's a classic game, you know, we're looking at like awesome third-party ones. Castlevania Bloodlines, Contra Hardcore. So, you know, if you look at the type of games and some of the third-party ones, even Darius, I mean, that was not released anywhere. That's on the Sega Mini, but it is not on AtGames. Earthworm Jim, another awesome classic Sega Genesis game. Echo the Dolphin. There's plenty of games, you know, Ghost and the Goblins, you know, there's plenty of games that are on the Sega only. But if you look at games like Golden Axe, look, you only get the first one on the Sega, but on AtGames you get all three. Look at the Mortal Kombat, you get all three. So it just depends on the kind of game that you're looking for, because on the AtGames side, you know, they have unique ones like the Mortal Kombats. You know, if you look at the Fantasy Stars, they have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Only part 4 is on the Sega Mini. So it just depends. If you're a role-playing guy, don't forget, you can actually play Phantasy Star 1, which is on the Sega Master System, which is also listed. And what about Shining Force? Look at this. You get Shining Force, In the Darkness, and Shining Force 2 only on the AtGames, but not on the Sega. Now, if you want arcade-style games, look at this. You got Space Harrier 2, Street Fighter 2, of course, Streets of Rage, you know, Strider, Super Fantasy Zone. These are awesome games. Super Thunderblade is on, you know, the Mini. But look at these games that are only on the Sega. So again, these are things that you just kind of have to weigh. Tetris was also a very unique one that was only released on the Sega, not on the AtGames Mini. Toe Jam and Earl, come on! You know, I love that game. It's probably my most favorite two-player game, you know, co-op game on the Sega Genesis, hands down. But if you scroll down, I also made this list. These are the Sega Master System games and the Sega Game Gear games. Now remember, the AtGames Mini is the only one that actually did this. So if you're trying to play like the Fantasy Zones, or any of the Alex Kids on the Mega Master System, or Baku Baku, you know, Sonic Drift, some of these games, you know, Tales Adventures, you can only play that on the AtGames. So is there anything else that distinguishes the AtGames and the Sega Mini Classics from one another? Well, let's take a look. There's definitely some more differences. One of these does not look like the other. That's right. The Sega official Mini definitely looks a lot like the original. And while the AtGames just doesn't quite catch the nostalgic feel. I even rubbed off the AtGames logo on mine just to give it a little bit less of a visual eyesore, basically. I just didn't like it. In regards to controllers, the Sega Classic comes with the 3 buttons, which are phenomenal. I love it. I absolutely love the way they feel. They look terrific. They feel terrific. AtGames went with 2 wired and 2 wireless 6-button controllers, which are pretty cool. But these 6-button controllers have something that's very interesting. They have a menu button so you can bring it up without hitting the reset button, and a rewind feature, which is pretty cool. If you're getting your butt kicked, you just lost, hit the rewind button, and you're all set. One of the other cool features, look at this pinout on the Sega Genesis, and look at the pinout on the AtGames. That's right, they are compatible. You can take your 6-button controller and go to the Sega Genesis and go to the AtGames. If you go to the Sega official Mini Classic, let's see if we can get focus here, it goes into USB ports, which is kind of cool because then you can use those controllers again for your Raspberry Pi or other things. But for compatibility and just nostalgic purposes, being able to use the controllers in the official Sega Genesis is something to be noted for. Hey, but who cares if the Sega Classic has Contra Hardcore? I can just play it in my AtGames, right? Well, let's try it out. One of the biggest advantages of having the AtGames console is that you can play Sega Genesis cartridges. You can actually plug them in, load them up, and play. Now, a lot of people have had a lot of issues with this, and there's some high compatibility problems. So if you have games like 4-player games like Bomberman or NBA Jams, then they're not going to play. It's just, incompatible with the system. They don't have a workaround, they don't have a patch. There's no time in the future that they're actually going to release it. So while it does open up a lot of games that you can play, there are several games that you cannot. Let's take a look at Contra Hardcore. So far it's loading up pretty good, so far it seems to be playing fine, so let's test it and make sure. Okay, yeah, completely unplayable. I was jumping around. Sometimes it would jump, sometimes it would move, sometimes it would be stuck, sometimes it was frame skipping, sometimes the screen would lapse. Overall, not playable. So who won the battle, Sega or AtGames? It just depends, really. Each gamer is going to rate these differently depending on what they want, what's more important to them. Is it the look and the feel? Is it the number of controllers, the number of games? There's a lot to consider. So let me know in the comments below which one you picked up, or which one you have, or which one you currently are going to purchase, and just why you did it. Let me know. I'm very interested. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time.